Welcome you who are marked. Every hand raised against the divinely appointed will ultimately grasp at shadows, mistaking fleeting power for true strength. Reflect on this. Psychological studies reveal that acts fueled by envy or malice often bypass reasoned foresight, fixating instead on immediate gratification. But consider the profound implication when these actions trespass into the spiritual realm. Their consequences transcend the individual, rippling through the tapestry of their lineage. This is where the narrative takes a chilling turn. They didn't merely wrong you, they violated something sacred, set apart, irrevocably sealed. And in that instant they inscribed their names on a contract of consequence, one that extends beyond their mortal existence. It perpetuates itself in their offspring, generation upon generation. The almost tragic irony lies in their misplaced confidence, believing they were simply asserting dominance over you. Some even reveled in their actions like bullies, assuming the game ends when their target breaks. But the divine does not share their amusement. Their entire circle has become the unwitting subject of a curse they themselves summoned. They envisioned building a legacy upon your ruin, yet they unknowingly constructed a generational trap, their names forever etched within its confines. And here is where your attention will be utterly captivated. The very weapons they wielded against you have become the blueprint for their family's enduring suffering. This is not mere happenstance, not fleeting karma. This is divine causality in its purest form, unyielding, irreversible, and utterly justified. Tonight we will meticulously unravel how their actions against you unleashed generational repercussions from which there is no escape. First, they didn't just confront you, they defied a covenant. They erroneously perceived their actions as dealing with an individual. Yet they failed to perceive that your existence is inextricably linked to something far grander, a force beyond their comprehension. They crossed a line, violating a sacred agreement. This explains the pervasive curse enveloping their circle. When individuals challenge the chosen, they fail to grasp that they are interfering with a divine contract ratified long before they knew your name. Every chosen individual bears a spiritual mandate not open for negotiation. When they sought to humiliate, sabotage, or break you, they weren't merely opposing you. They were obstructing a plan already ordained by the divine. This is why their attacks backfired with such devastating force, for the divine is unwavering in its commitment to covenants. Once sealed, a thing becomes consecrated, and any violation invites consequence. Just as ancient monarchs sealed decrees with wax and a signet ring, your destiny bears the divine seal. Your life is adorned with spiritual signatures visible to those with eyes to see. Every attempt to break you was akin to defiling the seal of the ordainer. No divine seal can be mocked with impunity. Compounding the gravity of their actions is their arrogant blindness. They treated you as ordinary, as if they were free to slander, deceive, and conspire against you without retribution. They underestimated the sheer force of your divine protection. It is one thing to target an individual. It is an entirely different matter to tamper with the covenant attached to that individual's soul. That is the line they crossed unwittingly. Now the curse they activated doesn't just affect them, it permeates their entire circle. And here is a truth many resist hearing: divine justice extends beyond the individual, flowing through the veins of bloodlines. When they violate a covenant, their entire sphere suffers the repercussions. That is why their peace has evaporated. That is why doors remain firmly shut. That is why their children bear burdens they never solicited, because divine law is indifferent to sentimentality. It moves with unwavering precision. When they believed they were confronting you, they were in fact engaging with the divine itself, and that is a battle no one can ultimately win. They intruded into a conflict that was never theirs. Now their circle is cursed for touching what the divine has already sanctified. Second, they planted seeds of malice against you, but the harvest sprouted in their own dwelling. Every deed directed against you was a seed sown regardless of their awareness. Lies, gossip, manipulation, betrayal. These were not random acts of cruelty. Each action possesses spiritual weight, a seed planted in fertile ground, which invariably multiplies what it receives. This is the principle they disregarded. They assumed that by targeting you, the worst outcome would be your collapse, a loss of confidence, or complete surrender. They failed to account for the fact that the soil doesn't simply return what is sown. It amplifies it. Because their seeds were poisonous, the resulting harvest came back in forms they couldn't control or manage. They dug pits and their own families tumbled in. They spread falsehoods, but the resulting atmosphere of dishonesty now taints their own homes. They set traps for you, but the spirit of failure has woven itself into the fabric of their circle. This is divine law in operation. You cannot sow corruption and anticipate reaping peace. You cannot nurture hatred and expect to harvest love. The very earth is coded to multiply whatever it receives, and the divine ensures that the multiplication aligns with justice. That is why their circle is cursed. The malicious seeds sown against you did not wither away when they walked off or pretended nothing occurred. They grew. They spread. And the grim irony is that the multiplication didn't manifest in your life because you were shielded. It manifested in their own. It is as if they tried to bury you in weeds. But those weeds infiltrated their own garden, choking every attempt to build something of value. What makes it even more agonizing for them is that the curse didn't appear instantaneously. Seeds require time to mature. They presumed they had escaped unscathed because life seemed to proceed as usual. But the harvest is now upon them. Their relationships are crumbling. Their opportunities are vanishing. Their peace of mind has deserted them. The worst aspect is that they know deep down why it is unfolding. Each time they witness your strength and resilience, it serves as a stark reminder of the seeds they planted and the drastically different outcome. The truth is inescapable. They cannot evade their own harvest. Just as blessings cascade through generations, so do curses spawned from wicked seeds. Because they targeted a chosen one, the multiplication became generational. Their circle is now destined to carry consequences they assumed would only affect you. Third, their lineage was compelled to inherit your innocence as their inherited debt. When they assailed you, they possessed a false sense of security, believing that nothing would attach to them. They presumed they could accuse, mistreat, and walk away untouched. But the divine operates according to different principles. The spiritual system demands equilibrium. When an innocent soul suffers at the hands of the guilty, the weight of that injustice doesn't simply dissipate. It is transferred because you carried an innocence they refused to acknowledge. The debt needed to be addressed because they wouldn't confess, repent, or rectify their actions that burden descended upon their lineage. This is why their children and grandchildren are now grappling with battles they didn't initiate. It's not because those children are inherently evil. It's because the bloodline has been tainted with unacknowledged guilt. The very lies, betrayals, and manipulations that were aimed at you are now inscribed in their family's spiritual record. It is as if their refusal to accept accountability forced the consequences to seek another resting place. That resting place became their descendants. The debt didn't vanish, it simply shifted forward. This is a truth many prefer to ignore. When an individual wrongs a chosen one and refuses to atone, their pride doesn't merely cost them, it rewrites the future of their household. Blessings intended for their children are locked away. Ease transforms into unnecessary struggle. Peace devolves into warfare they cannot comprehend. The agonizing irony is that their children are now bearing battles that belong to their parents. They assumed their words and actions against you ended in that moment, but spiritual laws never expire. Every accusation hurled at you is morphed into confusion within their own circle. Every attempt to silence you has resulted in a silence in their blessings. Every time they tried to break you, they unknowingly carved fissures into the foundation of their own house. The generational consequence is undeniable. Their descendants now carry a shadow they never consented to. This explains why the curse feels heavier with time, because innocence invariably demands compensation. You carried yours with grace and the divine recognized it. They denied it and the divine responded. Their lineage now pays the price of guilt they refuse to admit, and the weight of your innocence has become their inherited debt. Forth they opened a gate they cannot seal. Their actions extended beyond merely attacking you. They created breaches in places that should have remained inviolate. Every envious word, every malevolent scheme, every attempt to curse you functioned like a key turning in a lock they didn't understand. Your spirit possesses authority they gravely underestimated. In their attempts to tamper with it, they triggered forces far beyond their comprehension. They believed they were focusing their energy on you, but in reality they were tearing holes in the hedge of protection surrounding their own lives. Now that gate is ajar, and whatever has crossed through it will not simply depart. The negativity, the chaos, the unrest they unleashed has established a presence within their circle. Problems that appear random or inexplicable are not coincidences. They are the ramifications of spiritual doors they themselves opened. The envy that fueled their actions became a key they didn't know they were turning. Each misstep, argument, or betrayal within their ranks now reflects what they initiated. The frightening aspect is its seemingly permanent nature. They attempted to manipulate forces they didn't understand, assuming they could control the outcome. Instead, they invited an entity into their lives that operates according to laws they cannot bend. Their circle is now tormented by the very energy they believed they were unleashing against you. Every sleepless night, every moment of tension, every unexplained failure is connected to that gate they forced open. It is not merely temporary discomfort, it is a lingering consequence that intensifies over time. Their attempts to close the gate with excuses, blame, or denial are destined to fail because spiritual law does not negotiate with ignorance. What they attempted to impose on you has instead taken root within their circle. The envy they harbored has become the instrument of their own downfall, and the authority they believed they could break has only amplified their suffering. In essence, they opened a gate they cannot seal. They invited forces into their lives that will not depart quietly, and they now confront a torment they themselves engendered. Each time they attempt to regain control, the very energy they summoned pushes back with greater force, proving that tampering with what is divinely sealed never concludes quietly or without consequence. Fifth, their house now mirrors their treatment of you. Everything they directed at you, mockery, lies, betrayal, and the cruel games of manipulation, possesses a way of returning not merely metaphorically but literally into the very structure of their lives. The energy they invested in attempting to break you did not vanish. It seeped into the walls of their dwelling, the conversations within their family, and the relationships they assumed were unshakable. What they intended as a weapon against you has become the blueprint for the dysfunction that now defines their circle. They believed that by isolating you, distorting the truth, or undermining your confidence, they could assert dominance. But dominance founded on malice is never sustainable. Instead of establishing control, they fashioned a mirror. Every argument, every fracture, every act of betrayal they once practiced on you is now practiced among themselves. Their children witness patterns of distrust and disloyalty they inherited unknowingly. Their partnerships are strained by the very manipulations they employed, and the peace they sought to steal from you has vanished from their own home. The irony is particularly sharp. They sought to create fear and suffering in your life, but what they generated for themselves is far heavier and more intimate. The very atmosphere of torment, tension, and resentment they poured out in your direction is now the air they breathe each day. Their own circle has become a reflection of their attacks. The same isolation whispers and invisible chains of distrust. This is not mere coincidence. Spiritual law dictates that the energy we project into the world eventually finds a resting place, and when directed at a chosen one, it rebounds with precision. They imagined they were the authors of your suffering, but in reality they were writing the story of their own descent. The walls of their house now reverberate with echoes of the chaos they attempted to instill in you. The patterns they taught their circle are identical to those they inflicted on you, and they now reside within a loop of their own making. By attempting to control and diminish you, they inadvertently handed their circle a blueprint for failure, distrust, and pain. The life they built to harm you has become the very life that reflects their cruelty back at them, revealing in stark detail the consequences of directing destruction at what is divinely protected. Their house now mirrors their treatment of you, and they are trapped within the reflection. 6. Their generational blessings were redirected into your hands. Every blessing destined for them, every favor meant to fortify their family was contingent upon choices and obedience. By attacking you, by dishonoring the chosen, they unknowingly severed themselves from the very flow of that favor. Blessings are not random occurrences, they are assigned, guided, and safeguarded. The chosen possess authority and access to blessings that ordinary attempts at manipulation cannot touch. When they turned against you, they effectively removed themselves from that current of protection. They assumed they were targeting a single individual, but in reality they forfeited a connection to something far greater than themselves. Your absence in their lives extends beyond the physical or emotional realm, it is spiritual. There is no longer an intercessor, a chosen one to bridge the gap, no conduit through which divine favor naturally flows to their circle. Each door that closes for them, each opportunity that slips through their grasp, each unexplained struggle they endure reflects what they severed themselves from. They may attempt to project an image of normalcy, but the consequences are woven into the fabric of their daily existence. This loss exposes them where they once relied on the unseen balance of forces to ease their path and shield them from harm. They are now completely exposed to the natural and spiritual consequences of their own choices. Please keep 80% of the main content, change the remaining 20% to make the essay better, more attractive, consistent with the main content, attract the audience because it is good, and increase the competitive factor compared to the original essay. Special note: do not abbreviate or shorten. Keep the length of the essay equal to or close to the original essay. You do not need to reply or comment anything more, just return the results to me. 7th, their children stand as living monuments to their transgression. In the moment they chose to act against you, their error resonated far beyond the personal, etching itself into the very DNA of their lineage. The scales of spiritual law are unyielding, unmoved by excuse, age, or assumed innocence. The fallout of disobedience, cruelty, and envy doesn't conveniently halt with the instigator. Instead, it metastasizes outward, embedding itself into the lives of descendants who never chose to bear such a weight. Hard, perhaps. But generational repercussions aren't about doling out what's fair. They are about accountability. When one veers off course from the divine's roadmap, they set off a chain reaction that must be addressed. Descendants inherit a reality molded by choices not their own. The emotional, financial, and relational struggles they confront are often tethered to the unconfessed sins of the past generation. This does not sentence them to eternal doom, but it does mean the world they enter is already tilting, laden with spiritual debts. Family unity frays, opportunity dries up, protection fades, favor wanes. All warped by the invisible chains of parental transgression. This is why some families stumble repeatedly, trapped in cycles of failure, infighting, and chaos, even as their children earnestly strive to rise above. It's a bitter pill, but one laced with potent truth. These descendants become unwilling testaments to the cost of choices not their own, living mirrors reflecting decisions made long ago. Each hardship, each inexplicable setback, each simmering feud within their line becomes a silent yet undeniable monument to actions taken against you. These are not random strokes of fate. They are the predictable unfolding of spiritual law, a narrative inked invisibly yet undeniably across generations. By attacking you, they did more than wound themselves. They set in motion a precedent rippling through lifetimes. Their children now navigate the treacherous currents of a rebellion they never joined, learning firsthand that every deed casts a shadow, and every choice leaves an indelible mark. Their lineage has become a stark reminder of the consequences of disobedience, a constant echo. Once the divinely ordained is crossed, the vibrations don't simply fade. They surge forward, reshaping destinies long after the initial offense. Eighth, what they sought to extinguish in you has become the very voice that judges them. Every calculated attempt to silence you, each falsehood, smear, insult, and act of sabotage was intended to erase you, your presence, your voice, your very influence. They thought by drowning you out, by twisting the truth, they could reduce your life to insignificance, snuffing out your light with gossip, ridicule, and shame. But what they failed to foresee is that the tools they used to break you would become the instruments of their own exposure. Your survival, your unwavering resilience, and your undeniable progress now serve as a stark mirror reflecting their failures. With each rise, each seized opportunity, each hard-won recognition, your story speaks louder than any defense or explanation ever could. The world witnesses your ascendance, and in doing so, their actions are laid bare. Their lies have lost their power. Instead, they boomerang, becoming heavy with judgment. Your life has transformed into a living indictment of their miscalculations. There is a twisted irony in it all. They labored so diligently to write your story, to orchestrate your downfall, but you refused to play the part. The energy they invested in burying you has instead fueled a narrative that condemns them. Each success you achieve serves as a glaring reminder that they underestimated you, attempting to control forces beyond their grasp, and being outmaneuvered by the very life they sought to manipulate. Their inner circle sees it, feels it, and cannot escape it. The voice they sought to silence within you has become unstoppable, not by shouting, but by existing. Its mere presence exposes every deceitful word, every failed plan, every envious act. Your story, your triumph, your survival, it all whispers a quiet yet undeniable judgment against those who sought to undo you. They long to control your narrative, but it is your narrative that now controls them. The deepest truth of all is that nothing done in the shadows remains hidden. What they tried to erase has become the lens through which their failures are magnified. Your life doesn't just continue, it speaks. It judges. And each time they witness your progress, the reminder is inescapable. They tried to bury you, but now find themselves entombed within the very testimony of what they failed to destroy. Ninth, they didn't just lose you, they lost access to unearned favor. By turning against you, they gambled not just with personal ruin. They severed themselves from the channel of unearned favor intended to flow through your presence. Favor is not a random gift. It is a divinely appointed resource, guided, protected, and infused with purpose. The chosen carry an authority and access to blessings that cannot be touched by ordinary attempts at manipulation. By striking out at you, they effectively cut themselves off from this wellspring of protection. They may have thought their target was a single person, but their real loss was a connection to something vast, something divine. Your absence in their lives is more than simply physical or emotional. It's spiritual. No longer does an intercessor stand in the gap, no chosen one acting as a conduit through which divine favor can naturally flow to their circle. With each closed door, each missed opportunity, and each inexplicable struggle they endure, they glimpse the consequences of their choice. They may attempt to project an air of normalcy, but the ramifications are woven into the very fabric of their existence. This absence exposes them to the harsh realities they were once shielded from, leaving them vulnerable to both natural and spiritual consequences of their transgressions. Without the balance of unseen forces to smooth their path and mitigate harm, they are now fully accountable for their actions. 10th, a haunting reflection of their character now resides within their walls. Those once vibrant and bustling rooms now echo with a disquieting stillness, a testament to the spiritual vacuum their actions have created. The laughter that once filled the air is now muted, replaced by hushed whispers and furtive glances. They find themselves haunted by shadows of their own creation, unable to escape the suffocating weight of guilt and regret. It is as if their home has become a prison, trapping them within the confines of their own making. Even in moments of feigned joy and underlying unease lingers a constant reminder of the price they have paid for their transgression. The once comforting embrace of their family has been replaced by a sense of detachment and suspicion, as if an invisible barrier has been erected between them. Their relationships now feel fragile, like delicate glass teetering on the edge of shattering. And in the depths of their solitude, they cannot escape the haunting realization that their actions have not only condemned themselves, but have also cast a long and ominous shadow over future generations. So as we've explored tonight, the echoes of our actions, especially those driven by malice, resonate far beyond the immediate moment. They can shape destinies, alter legacies, and ultimately reveal the profound interconnectedness of our spiritual lives. The key takeaway is that while darkness may seem to triumph, temporarily divine justice possesses an unwavering and ultimately restorative power. I'm truly curious to hear your thoughts on this intricate web of cause and consequence. Have you witnessed similar patterns in your own life or the lives of those around you? Please leave a comment below. Share your insights, ask any questions that might be stirring within you. Let's open up a meaningful dialogue and learn from each other's perspectives. And if this exploration resonated with you, if you're seeking to unravel more of life's mysteries and understand the deeper spiritual currents that shape our existence, then please subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you'll ensure you don't miss any future videos as we continue to delve into these fascinating and transformative topics together. Together.